So, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you bet. So before we get into your career and your life and
Yes.
your latest single, Caravan, covering
Yes.
Ellington, I want to begin with what we've lived through, especially as musicians going through the pandemic. I know we're getting tired of talking about COVID, but it was so momentous for all of us and especially the artistic community. How did you make it through that as an artist, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
It was an incredible time for everyone. During the pandemic and before the pandemic, I was an executive assistant at New York City Parks. So when they told me that, the offices were closed, there's nothing, everywhere's closed, but they had a program where we could volunteer. We're still getting our salary, but we could volunteer to hand out masks, hand sanitizer, and gloves to the homeless population of Lower Manhattan, which was really bad down there at that time.
Yeah.
And I decided to do that. And that was one of the best things I ever did, was go down into the city every day, and just with my supplies, and hand out supplies to people that really needed it at that time. And it showed me a vision of New York that I thought I would never see in my life, that you could literally walk down Times Square, and there's nothing, not a car, not a person. I could literally lay down in the middle of Times Square for 15, 20 minutes. That's it.
So
Nobody
weird.
was there. It was apocalyptic, you know? Um, and it gave me, and in addition to that, it gave me the time, because there's no other time that we'll have this opportunity, to be in lockdown, to be sequestered, not be able to do anything. And I took the opportunity to really work on myself, work on things that I thought that I had worked on before, childhood traumas, but I didn't. So my spirit, a little voice inside of your head, your instinct tells you, you either do it now when you have all of this time, or it'll never be done.
Yeah.
And I did it. And Joe, it was the best thing that I ever did in my life for
Yeah.
myself. Because I'm a creative person, but it's like the dam broke, and
Yeah.
it was incredible.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but it gave me a lot of opportunities to improve myself and to help others.
I remember during that time, I interviewed more musicians than I ever did my entire life. And I remember probably around June or July of 2020, I was talking to a musician that lived by Times Square, and he was explaining what it was like. And it was, wow, it blew me away. I just kept
Yes.
thinking about that dude from the Twilight Zone walking down the middle of the street,
Yes.
just like narrating this very bizarre time in the future, you know.
Absolutely.
It was,
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was like.
yeah,
Surreal.
yeah,
Surreal.
it was very bizarre. So let me ask you this. So you covered Caravan by Ellington. What's going on with you lately? What's some of the things that you're putting out right now?
So, Plaid Dog Records recording, it's out of Boston. They reached out to me, and they have this program where it's owned and operated by Mike Davidson. He's the producer and owner, and they like to reach out to artists that they believe in and they like, and they want to help. And they basically help you fund whether it's an EP or a full-length album. And honestly, when they reached out to me, I thought it quite daunting. Um, because I didn't think I was able to do it, but I raised the money that I needed. I have a 4-track EP entitled Caravan, which is going to be released the first week of December, which I am super excited about, because I really got to record the songs the way I wanted to, my vision of what I thought that these standards would sound like. So
Yeah.
I'm really super excited and happy.
So take me back to the beginnings of your life. Where were you born and raised, and how did this love of not only being a musician, but jazz specifically, how did that happen and take hold and become you?
Sure. I was born in the island of Dominica in the Caribbean. It's between Guadeloupe and Martinique. And my mom moved my brother and I here to the Bronx when my grandmother already was residing when I was 4 years old. But we never lost that connection to the island, because we always went back every year. And growing up in my house, even though I grew up in the Bronx, when I came home, it was like being in Dominica.
yeah.
So we never lost that connection. And then my grandmother loved classic cinema. And there was no one in the house that would watch these movies with my granny. So I would watch them with her. So I grew up watching Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and all of these great musicals that she loved. And I loved as well. And that's how I discovered the Great American Songbook and fell in love with them.
Yeah. So was that island just, is the island beautiful? Is it just like a paradise?
It's gorgeous. It's lush. When you fly over it, when you're descending into Dominica, it looks like a head of broccoli. That's how green it is. Yeah, it
So,
has every shade of green you can imagine.
a lot of our consciousness, a lot of things are developed by three. That had to have been a magical place to just kind of begin the growth of your brain and your idea of being on this planet.
Yes, yes. It's a really beautiful, it's called the nature island of the Caribbean, just because it goes up instead of out. It's very mountainous. We have 365 rivers for every day of the year. It's very wet, lush, green. So yes, it was, we have only 68,000 people. So it's like a big, huge forest.
So you go from an actual forest to an
Yes.
actual urban forest in the Bronx. What kind of,
From a jungle to a concrete jungle.
that's what I'm saying. So what kind
Yes.
of culture shock was that? How did you adjust to that?
Well, I was 4 years old, so it wasn't
Right.
really too much of a culture shock.
Yeah.
New York, the Bronx is my home. Um, it never felt like a culture shock. I love the city. My love of New York City has never dimmed or wavered. I have a fascination. I people ask me, who am I in a relationship with? And it's with New York City. I
Yeah.
love this place.
Yeah.
And George Gershwin, Cole Porter, so many of the great composers of the Great American Songbook resided here at one time or the other. Duke Ellington, Fats Waller, Irving Berlin. It's just incredible place.
So what was the first live show, whether jazz or otherwise, that you saw that blew you away?
The first live show, oh wow. The first live show I really saw was actually the Mighty Sparrow, which is a great calypsonian out of Trinidad, who was a great friend of my father. And just watching this man um on stage and how captivating he was just amazing to me, down to earth. Not only was his performance captivating, but he engaged with the audience. It was really like a call and answer. He was really talking to you and telling you a story, and I really like that part of performing, as telling a story.
The one thing about being a performer is that you're fueled by dreams, dream after dream after dream.
Yes,
And being in New York, there's all of these stages that hatch millions of dreams. What was the
yes.
first stage that you got to perform on where you were like, I can't believe this is happening?
Wow, that has to be Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
That was just, I mean, I was singing opera, and I had a smile on my face, Joe. I was smiling so much that I got a headache.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
That I couldn't believe it. And I performed there twice, most recently last November. And it never gets old being on that stage, and the achievement and the hard work it takes to get there.
So, what is it that you look forward to every day as a singer and a songwriter? What gets you up out of bed? What gets you to want to create and to be a part of this art form? What's the motivation?
Just being better. I
Yeah.
always strive to be better, and better than I was yesterday. And I'm always working on tweaking and perfecting what I do, and always honoring the composer that I'm singing, whether it be Duke Ellington, Irving Berlin, which I'm completely obsessed about these two, Duke Ellington and Irving Berlin, Fats Waller, Cole Porter, oh my God. Yeah, I just want to convey the best possible performance to honor the composer and give the audience the dream, the fantasy, and really transport them somewhere.
So the thing about jazz, I mean, being a singer is you could pick any genre, and jazz, as you know, is not a place where you get kind of the riches and fame as you would other genres, but it's full of this love and this grit. What is
Yes.
it that you love the most about being a part of not only the jazz lineage, but this community overall?
It's it's the stories that are told in this music. They're called standards for a reason. They never get old and
Right.
they really relate to every time. So in Love, when Cole Porter wrote it, um, was relevant then and it's relevant now. It speaks of timeless themes that never get old. Um, and I love singing this music. I would say that I'm a traditional jazz singer. I sing the Great American Songbook, Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, those type of songs because they just speak to my heart.
Yeah. So how does it work for you being a creative, going from the Bronx back to your home island and back and forth? What how does that enhance and become a part of what you write and sing and give to the world creatively?
Well, I always say I'm an island girl. I was born in an island. I reside on an island most of the time. So
Right.
so it really doesn't change. Maybe the weather changes,
Yeah.
and what I'm looking at changes, but it really doesn't change. I carry who I am, wherever I go. Whether I'm a girl coming from a little island, a girl raised in the Bronx, grew up in New York City. I just want to bring positivity, love, and joy to my audience.
So if we get off this call and a time machine pulls
Yes.
up in front of your house and you can go anywhere in the history of jazz and see one performance, where are you
Oh,
going?
it
Maybe a
would have to.
few.
Yeah, you have to give me a few. Number one is, although I got to see Ella Fitzgerald at the end of her life and Ella Fitzgerald at her prime, I would love to have seen Ella live in Rome, that concert.
Yeah. See, for me, I would have loved to have seen her the first time she stepped on stage at the Apollo. You know what
Ooh,
I'm saying? When she was just
yeah.
this little shy
Oh,
girl and
a
just
tisket, a
boomed that
tasket. Yes.
through the roof off of that place.
And you know what I love about Ella's like my favorite singer. And what I love about her is that she grew up in a time where it wasn't great to be Black.
Right,
But you never heard that in her singing.
right.
She always sang with joy, effervescence. It was this love and this overwhelming amount of happiness that she conveyed in whatever she sang.
Yeah.
And I greatly appreciate that about her. Uh, in addition to countless other things.
I heard she was painfully shy. Like when she was off
Yes,
stage, it was a different persona. But when she got on stage, it
it
was
was
just
something
like
else.
the magic just exuded. So,
Yes,
so at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your
yes.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that I am a totally passionate individual about what I do. And I love what I do. Incredibly loyal, incredibly passionate, incredibly real. I work extremely hard. Um, and I just want to sing.
Yeah, right on. So if anyone wants
Yes.
to pick up the new album, if
Yes.
anyone wants to look into your world, any of the good business, where can they go?
They can go onto my website, which is www.maryclairgiraud.com. Also on my Instagram at Mary Claire Plus, which I keep very active. And those are the places where you can read up all about me.
Okay. This has been wonderful. I'm so glad I ran into you. Thank you so much for
Thank you
taking
so
a bit
much,
of time.
Joe.
Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.